Howdy, 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 my name is Anachi Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. Now, I just want to say, it was not my intention to take a week off from this. It was my intention to keep reading it and see how far I can get before Halloween next Tuesday. But instead, I lost the ability to hear for 4 days, and then had a social life. But now I can hear again, and that other thing's not happening until later. So, in this episode, we're going to start with Chrysalis, and see how far we get when it's been 50 minutes. Because it's already 8 o'clock at night, and I want to try to get this posted today, so yeah. So, let's start. Okay, it's Euclid. SCP-200 requires a temperate, secure environment large enough to house the 1.68 by 2 meter bed frame it is affixed to. Well, that already sounds kind of creepy. The room should be equipped with a large viewing window such that SCP-200 may be observed with minimal disturbance. In fact, when not being directly tested, 200 should be left undisturbed. Particular care should be taken when collecting samples to avoid compromising the delicate outer shell of 200. An automated mister should be set up to apply a fine mist to 200 once a day, as misters do. If 200 appears to be drying out, an additional mist can be applied, but care should be taken not to allow it to become too moist. Due to the uncertain nature of 200, the door to its containment area should be kept locked at all times, and direct interaction is restricted to clearance level 2 staff as a precaution. Now let's find out what it actually is. Probably not a queen of the weird bug horses. 200 is contained within a chrysalis. Alright. Measuring 172.4 centimeters in length from stem to tip, attached to a standard queen-size bed frame and mattress. Haha! Chrysalis Queen. So, the chrysalis is a mottled brown in color, and analysis shows it to consist of several layers of silk, woven in such a way as to be coarse to the touch. Is my bed vibrating? What the heck? The silk layers appear to be held together by data expunged. Okay. 200 itself was last seen as a 13-year-old Caucasian male, measured at 152 centimeters in height and weighing 168.73 kilograms. It retreated to its chrysalis on blanket in blank 2000-something, and researchers have been unable to explain how the child produced the cell to construct its encasement. Nose. Ultrasound tests have been unable to detect any solids within the chrysalis. However, fluid samples extracted from within reveal human DNA matching that of the child in question. It appears that the child has data expunged. Samples of the data expunged used to bind the chrysalis are also a DNA match for SCP-200. The kid turned into silk. Got it. 200 lies dormant under I don't know where I got the word under from, but lies dormant a majority of the time, although it may be observed twitching occasionally, particularly if it is startled by sudden contact or a loud noise. However, in its current state, it poses no threat. Notes. 200 was retrieved from blank USA on blanket in blank 2000-something, approximately 28 hours after chrysalis presented. According to medical records, 200 followed a normal pattern of human development until age 12. At this point, the child began to display a voracious appetite and rapidly gained weight over the course of the following year. Dr. Somebody, a local pediatrician, was unable to identify a cause for the abrupt change in metabolism. The child's mother, concerned about his weight gain, attempted to restrict his diet. 200 escaped into the surrounding woods. When authorities located the boy 72 hours later, he had doubled his weight on a diet of data expunged. I'm going to go ahead and assume bears. After being returned home, 200 developed its chrysalis. Following retrieval, Class A amnesiacs were administered to the child's mother, Dr. Blank, and local authorities. Local community was led to believe that data expunged to prevent concern about the boy's whereabouts and well-being. Addendum 201. According to the most recent testing, 200's DNA has been displaying a number of mutations. While ultrasound tests still reveal no solids, Dr. Somebody hypothesized that the child may be developing into data expunged, probably a moth. This hypothesis remains controversial and requires further testing and observation. In light of these developments, a request to reclassify 200 under Euclid has been approved, and 24/7 observation shifts are being implemented to watch for its emergence. So probably a moth or a butterfly or some such chrysalis-dwelling creature. And now it's time for the empty world. followed by the Rewind Man, which sounds festive. It doesn't look that disturbing. It kind of looks like the weird brain machine from The Evil Within, except not huge, or a brain, or by the creators of Resident Evil. Anyway, no personnel are to come within 40 meters of 201 at any time. Any and all work done with it is to be performed via remotely controlled drone, like flying drones or robo-drones that, like, wheels. Any personnel entering the containment area must be accompanied by 2 members of security. All personnel in containment area must wear a restraint harness with a safety rope attached to the wall. Rope will allow access to within 3 meters of the minimum safe area. I accidentally said 3 meters. 3 meters sounds like some kind of object. Exceeding this distance will result in physical removal from the containment area and formal discipline. Those affected by 201 are to have time and date of exposure, disappearance, and return, along with any and all personal information recorded in log blank. Subjects who reappear are to be recovered as soon as possible by agents and debriefed immediately. Sorry, my throat's kind of, like, wonky because I just ate a very large sandwich called the Fat Harambe, and I hope to God that it's not called that because of the freaking gorilla. So, 201 appears to be a very old piece of medical equipment, superficially resembling an IV stand, but with many other glass and metal items attached to it. It stands 6 feet tall, and it has a mass of 80 pounds. I appreciate them putting that in for a dumb American such as myself. The metal portions are made of steel and brass, and various parts are connected with rubber tubing. The 2 IV bags are porcelain and open at the top. 201 was recovered somewhere hospital in a long unused storage area. No record of it appears anywhere in the hospital records. Entering within 30 meters of 201 can result in subject being displaced into an alternate reality. This effect is apparently random, with some subjects remaining totally unaffected after exposure to 201. Those affected will cease to exist in our reality between 1 and 48 hours after initial exposure. So just sort of, so, how was your day, Bill? It's alright. My wife made me this beautiful... and then just gone. Durations of displacement vary between a few hours and upwards of 8 years. Time spent in this alternate reality can vary greatly from actual time elapsed in our reality. This alternate world appears identical to our own, with these exceptions. It is apparently in a state of constant twilight, with no sun or moon visible at any time. Large banks of very dense gray fog travel very low to the ground. These fog banks are unaffected by wind and can make exposed skin feel very sticky and dirty. There is no plant or animal life anywhere. All places of human habitation, including major cities, appear as if all life suddenly vanished in the same instant. Most, if not all, electrical systems appear to be broken or without power. The air will randomly take on a ground-gray tint. What? Gray-brown tint, accompanied by strong wind. Subjects displaced to this alternate world report initial surprise and curiosity, which are shortly replaced with very strong feelings of loneliness and fear. The severity varies widely with individual subjects and with time of displacement. Upon the end of displacement, subject will reintegrate from this alternate world to our own, which can cause a great deal of shock, especially in urban settings. Most subjects who remain displaced for more than 3 months suffer lasting psychological damage consistent with being sequestered within solitary confinement. So, probably long-term crazies. Okay. In addition, reports of intermittent fragmentary broadcasts have been returned by subjects attempting to repair power to media devices such as televisions and radios. It is unclear if these are real or the product of the degraded mental states of those remaining long enough to complete said projects, but reports consistently resemble automated messages prepared by the Foundation in contingency for XK-class scenarios. Testing will commence if viable samples can be recovered. Okay, so it sounds like from that, somewhere in this alternate dimension, they're receiving radio signals that line up with the the automated messages the Foundation made as a contingency plan for the universe ending. I think that's the universe ending. Oh, SCP-2935. Okay then, we'll get there someday in like, what year is it? When I die, we'll get there. Next up is the Rewind Man! Man. He's safe. Alright, cool. Research has been conducted on the Rewind Man at Bioresearch Area 12. Here, researchers are actively seeking to understand and cure the condition plaguing the Rewind Man. He is granted full amenities of Level 0 personnel quarters when not being examined. The Rewind Man is under an assumption that he is in a hospital and is not to be made aware that his doctors are in fact SCP researchers. The Rewind Man is an Asian British male, 41 years of age, who performs all actions in reverse. Is he Benjamin Button? I think he's Benjamin Button. He does not appear to age in reverse, but speaks, eats, walks, and performs all other actions opposite to what is considered normal. The Rewind Man speaks in reverse English with a British accent. Recording his speech and playing it backwards at 1:1 speed allows for normal communication. The subject asserts that he was a normal individual living in Stockport, England, until he woke up one morning 4 years ago and found that every action he attempted to do, he did in reverse. He pledges that no matter how hard he tries, he is unable to carry out normal patterns of motion. He also claims that he is unable to explain how he is able to walk backwards through crowded halls without bumping into others or other inexplicable acts. Watching the Rewind Man is particularly frustrating to Foundation biologists and physicists. Rather than acting as a pump, the chamber is as his heart vacuums, pulling his blood towards the heart and arteries and pushing it away in veins. The Rewind Man actually exhales oxygen and processes carbon dioxide. Researchers are fervently seeking answers to how his respiratory system works and if on the molecular level, the Krebs cycle of metabolism could possibly run in reverse. His eating habits confound researchers as well, as food comes up from his stomach and out his mouth and undergoes a reverse chew. For example, when eating a sandwich, the Rewind Man somehow regurgitates a bolus of food that reverse chews into a portion of a sandwich. Boluses are added from the Rewind Man into a complete sandwich that defies laws of both physics and biology. The resulting sandwich is completely normal and edible according to research. The Rewind Man claims that he isn't aware of what he's going to eat until it starts coming. As for waste, when 202 needs to blank blank blank, see addendum. The Rewind Man does not think in reverse and cannot foresee the future as some personnel believe. He's rather good at Rubik's Cubes and enjoys dismantling jigsaw puzzles. Addendum, direct order from Commander expunged. We're not having any more discussion about what happens when 202 goes to the bathroom. I think we can all paint a pretty picture of what goes on in there. The damn scientists can't explain where it comes from and neither can the plumbers, so let's just leave it at that. The poor man has enough problems, give him the courtesy of a little privacy. Until the quacks can come up with a reason to study it, I want all data on the topic expunged. Okie dokie then. We do not get to find out what happens when he poops, but it sounds like the poop comes from the toilet and... yeah. Data expunged indeed. Now it's time for the Tortured Iron Soul, which doesn't sound like it was probably safe in any capacity, but we'll find out how wrong I am. It's not! Yay! Euclid. SCP-203 is to be kept in a storage bunker 3A at a research facility someplace while powered down. Powered down. It said Iron Soul, right? Tortured Iron Soul. Two D-class personnel, two disposable dudes equipped with sound filtration equipment are required to guard Bunker 3A in case of accidental activation of defense mechanism. While active, 203 is to be accompanied by an armed escort to any testing procedures. 203 appears to at one time have been a Caucasian human male of indeterminate age. Subject is 2.5 meters tall, and though it is theorized that the skeletal framework augments are a subject's original height, as indicated by irregular musculature. And he weighs approximately 200 kilograms, whatever that is. The subject's entire skeletal structure has been removed and replaced with a mechanical framework made of cast iron that seems to move on its own volition. Aha! Tortured Iron Soul. Okay, so I guess they just used the word soul to define, oh, you poor soul. And I imagine it would be torture to have your skeleton removed and then replaced with metal. It's like Wolverine, except that first part happened. This framework appears to be the sole cause of 203's ambulation, independent of its musculature. Several areas of skin on the subject's body have split, revealing a section of the subcutaneous metal framework. Let's see what that little footnote is. This and the presence of suture scarring indicate that the augments have been surgical rather than the organic components being grown onto the metallic structure. See anatomical analysis 203 left for further details. In addition to these areas, some parts of the metal structure seem to have been made intentionally, or to intentionally protrude from the flesh, seeming to form an aesthetic pattern. While it's merely speculation at this point, some researchers believe that the additions seem to be ritualistic in nature. The augmentations to the subject's body include, but are not limited to, the fingers have been extended into sharpened barbs approximately 1 meter long. The lips have been removed, revealing that 203 lacks a jawbone, suggesting that the skull is a single hollow piece. Remaining oral tissue has been tied into the skull with several hook-like protrusions. In place of the mouth, a small audio transducer-like grate has been welded. This augment produces basic vocalizations through an unknown mechanism. The vertebrae have been replaced with a segmented iron bar, which has several sharp barbs haphazardly welded to it. The legs have 2 added joints, making them appear functionally digitigrade, with steel tubes of an unknown function protruding from them, executing and tying into the back. The rib cage lacks a sternum, causing the skin to pull inward with contraction of the subject's diaphragm. Ears removed, remaining skin stapled together. Note that the subject has displayed superhuman oral acuity despite this fact. Okay, so he has really good hearing despite no ears. Expunged, removed. Alright. All toes removed, replaced with a solid piece of iron, vaguely resembling the metal insert of a steel toe boot. The heels are augmented by similar metal inserts. The eyes have been retained but are held in the forward-facing position by several needles protruding from the eye socket. Irises seem to be permanently dilated and not photoreactive. I hate hearing about things happen to people's eyes. While lacking vocal cords, 203 can communicate verbally through the transducer located on its faceplate. It appears to understand English to an extent, but its primary language appears to be a previously unknown Arabic dialect. It's always the Arabic things that are strange and horrifying, like Cain and Abel and God when we get there. Well, I don't know if God's going to be strange and horrifying. I hope I don't go to hell for saying that. 203 has no recollection of a life before its augmentations, only that it feels near constant pain and confusion. 203 appears to run on an internal power cell that runs for a 72-hour period, after which the subject enters a state of hibernation that lasts between 3 and 4 hours. They cannot deliberately deactivate this power source, though it has expressed that these periods of sleep are the only escape it has from its otherwise miserable existence. As there is no current way of ascertaining the truthfulness of the subject's statements, any expression of pain or depression by the subject is to be viewed by staff as a method of eliciting a sympathetic response and are to be dismissed. X-rays, CT, ultrasound, and all the forms of diagnostic imagery. Quite obviously, the metallic nature precludes the use of magnetic resonance imaging. I was wondering how they were going to handle MRIs. Have proven incapable of penetrating the internal workings of 203 deeper than the subcutaneous level, and exploratory surgery activates a secondary defense mechanism that redacted. Okay. It has recently come to light that 203 has the ability to emit a high-frequency drone, superficially similar to audio feedback, that has a severely damaging effect on the human nervous system. Okay. However, this mechanism is only activated when the subject is provoked or harmed. For more information regarding this ability, see the attached testing log. 203 has on numerous occasions requested either anesthetics, analgesics, or on occasion, narcotics. These requests are pending approval. Wait, testing log. Let's see. Method of induction, accidental. 203 is struck by disposable dude when it refuses to enter storage. When defense mechanism activates, disposable dude continues his assault and forces 203 into containment. Result. After 1 minute of exposure, severe headache. 15 minutes, headache increases and ears begin to bleed. Continues to screech. Disposable dude, the other guard on dude, not affected by the sound. 20 minutes, subject leaves his post and checks himself into the infirmary. 30 minutes, has a seizure, bleeding from all extremities. 35 minutes, begins to yell, "Shut it up," repeatedly, though he is no longer within audible range of 203. 40 minutes, dies. He had a cerebral hemorrhage. Okay. Disposable dude number 90. Subject locked in the cell with 203 while being observed via remote cameras. Disposable dude 90 is equipped with a taser and is told to use said weapon on 203. The subject is reluctant but complies. 203 begins emission of defensive 30 seconds after provocation. 1 minute, agitated and assaults. Continues and assumes fetal position. Subject holding head and ears and nose are bleeding. Continues screeching. Seizure! Screeching stops. Later analysis reveals that the frequency of the emitted sound has simply moved beyond the human range of hearing. Okay. Subject vomits blood and bleeds from his eyes. Subject appears to be dead. Emitted sound genuinely ceases. 44 minutes later, 203 stands and moves towards the body. 203 then begins to surgically remove the subject's skeleton. At this time, 203 is removed from the cell and put into storage. Note, test seems to indicate that 203's defense mechanism is also a method of producing more 203-like entities. Further tests and allowing 203 to continue this process are being considered. And the interview. Okay. Interviewer Dr. Somebody, begin log blank 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 3:34 in the afternoon. I saw that you've requested to see the video footage from the test last week. Yes. Any particular reason? Eyes do not see, happens beyond. Lost in the black, like time of silence, and does not know what they do. I'm not sure I understand. You lose consciousness when your defenses are triggered? Yes, and you wish to know what you did to your assailant. After the black, we see only after. Within the black, our body is only the tool of unintelligible, possibly Arabic. Why do you want to know this? They are silent for several minutes. 203? They think us a thing. They think us something to watch. Garbled sounds like we are a toy. But even with the evil inside me, one talks to us as a man. I'm sorry? You talk to us like we are not metal. You call us by name. Makes an unidentified sound, possibly laughter. When nobody hears, you call us by name. You call us Edward, like guards say Edward Scissorhands. Becoming distressed. That would be unprofessional, 203. You call us Edward, and you say you care, and you will help us. This session is over. Closing statement, Dr. Blank Blank has since been denied access to observation of 203. Okay then. So, he thinks that the doctor cares about it because they gave him a name instead of a number. That's nice. Also terrifying. Let's see the Protector! Oh. Well, I guess I better get my serious Keter voice ready. SCP-2041 and 2042 are to be kept in a 10 by 10 meter fortified holding area inside blank. The holding area must be constructed out of armor-plated steel and heavily reinforced concrete. The holding area must also be vacuum-sealed and contained within an outer shell with a higher air pressure that must always be maintained within at least 2 psi over the current air pressure in the holding area. At least one full security team must be kept on standby at all times. It is only during 2041's scheduled feeding times that D-Class personnel are allowed to enter for the purposes of maintenance. 2041's typical diet consists of any kind of meat, preferably from living subjects. Such subjects will often consist of aggressive animals such as wild dogs, bulls, or any other animal that must be euthanized due to aggression. However, D-Class personnel will also suffice if such food sources are unavailable. 2042's diet consists of a regular human diet with no special measures required. 2042 is allowed to make special requests, but any and all requests must be given to 05 approval. Any personnel caught attempting to deliberately provoke 2042 will be immediately terminated. Security personnel are required to ignore any and all of 2042's attempts to provoke a response from them unless there is a clear and present risk of containment breach. Failure to do so will also result in harsh administrative punishment. When 2042 is about to turn the age of 14, the Foundation must initiate Containment Protocol 204. Further details may be found in Containment Protocol 204 requirements. In the event of a containment breach, EMP generators must be immediately activated in order to keep 2041 disabled. Once the EMP generators have been activated, security teams have approximately 30 seconds to neutralize 2042 before 2041 can adapt and reassemble itself. If containment cannot be achieved in time, 2041 must be contained by conventional means. Security teams and agents are authorized to use any conventional weaponry at their disposal to contain 2041 and 2042. If 2042 is terminated during containment, then Containment Protocol 204 must immediately be initiated. SCP-2041 is a semi-organic nanomachine colony that follows 2042 as a form of protector. 2041 spends the majority of its time on a dispersed cloud where it is almost impossible to perceive with normal human senses. However, if 2042 is put into danger, or if 2042 commands it to, 2041 will instantaneously materialize to a solid physical form. The exact shape and nature of this form is subjective, depending wholly upon 2042's view, state of mind, and imagination. Despite its variable nature, 2041 has a number of common traits. These include massive strength, large size, basic intelligence, perfect obedience to 2, and the ability to regenerate itself after consuming living flesh. 1 is vulnerable to conventional weaponry, and it can be temporarily forced back into its first state if enough damage is inflicted. 2 is always a child, ranging from 4 to 14 years old. Physically, there is nothing outstanding about 2, besides its ability to call upon 1. All incidences of 2 have common traits. All of them have had a history of abuse and danger, with many developing acute mental disorders as a result. This makes instances of 2 difficult to contain in any traditional manner, as great care must be taken to keep them in a stable state. It appears that 1 is attracted to such children, though why or how it finds them is currently unknown. 2 is terminated or If 2 is terminated or reaches the age of 14, then 1 will abandon it and find a new child to imprint on. As a form of self-preservation, if 1 cannot find a suitable child, it will immediately materialize and go berserk, attacking anything in sight. Once 1 finds a suitable candidate to protect, it immediately imprints upon 2, and will follow it until 2 expires or until 1 decides to leave of its own accord. At first, 1 appears benign, protecting 2 from overt threats. However, through careful study and observation, it has been noted that all incidences of 2 begin to adopt much more aggressive, danger-seeking behavior with little regard for human life. It is theorized that 1 is able to manipulate 2's thought processes in order to behave in a fashion that would benefit it. It is assumed that since 1 requires organic flesh for sustenance, it needs 2 to be in danger in order to justify its activation. See Addendum 1 for further details. There have been numerous recorded instances where it is believed that 1 has been involved. The first such recorded incident was when a car was found in a residential street completely torn apart and covered in partially devoured human remains. Similar incidents occurred until agents managed to track 1 to blank blank, where they made contact with the first recorded incarnation of 2. It took 3 more attempts and numerous casualties before 1 and 2 were successfully contained. Interviews with 2 revealed that it seemed to feel a need to experience danger, such as standing in traffic or provoking hostile responses from others. When questioned on its reasons, 2 simply replied that 1 allowed it to. Containment Protocol 204. In order to keep 1 successfully contained, it has been necessary to keep a permanent stock of candidates to replace 2 in the event that the current one is terminated or abandoned. Ideally, all candidates should be orphans below the age of 10 with a history of abuse. However, in times of need, Article 12 of the Containment Protocol 204 may be authorized to allow candidates that don't meet specific requirements. They will be put under the supervision of caretakers, which will consist of D-class personnel convicted of violent crimes, child abuse, and pedophilia, with Foundation staff present to prevent inadvertent termination of candidates. Personnel selection for Article 12 will follow the same guidelines as the special requirements for SCP-231. To date, Article 12 has not been enacted in any form. If 2 successfully reaches the cutoff age of 14 years and 1 abandons it, the former 2 must undergo a rigorous amnestic treatment and a thorough psychological examination before being reintegrated into a government foster program. If it is deemed that the former 2 cannot be successfully reintegrated, then the subject must be immediately terminated. As of the writing of this report, the Foundation has contained 13 instances of 2. 11 instances exhibited the trademark hostile and violent behavior typical among all instances of 2. However, 2 instances of 2 showed a marked improvement in their mental health and stability and had the lowest number of containment breach attempts. It is currently unclear what specific factors trigger these differences in behavior, as the exact mechanism 1 uses to manipulate its hosts is still unknown. Though there is evidence to suggest that 1 may be sentient, or possibly even sapient, all attempts to communicate directly with 1 have resulted in failure. Currently, the only feasible method of communicating with 1 is to use 2 as an intermediary. Unfortunately, the violent tendencies and hostile behavior exhibited by nearly all instances of 2, as well as their questionable mental stability, make this approach highly unreliable. I'm not sure why that's a Keter class, but okay. Next up is Shadow Lamps, which is Euclid. 205 1 and 2 are contained within Chamber 52 at Site 23, under regular observation via the adjoining observation room. 1 and 2 are to be supplied with power and face the white projection screen on the wall opposite the observer. Wait a minute. I think I know what this one is. I'm going to finish reading it and see if it's what I think it is. Because if it's what I think it is, it's in SCP Containment Breach, and I'm not looking forward to having to see it. But if it's not what I think it is, then okay. Chamber 52 requires monthly maintenance to ensure the continued operation of both SCP objects, their power supply, and remote activation controls. Replacement parts and bulbs are kept on hand in the chamber. Maintenance is suspended during the final months of this 205 cycle, occurring in April and October of each year. Should power to Chamber 52 fail, it is to remain dark and sealed for a period of 30 days before local security enters the re-engaged power for continued observation and containment. During maintenance, it is critical that only one of the 205 pair is ever turned off at a time. Should both objects lose power or otherwise cease normal operation, the chamber must be sealed for a 30-day period before local security may enter to re-engage power and retrieve the remains of any personnel lost in the chamber. Pending 05 review, testing, and observation is to continue before 205 is to be moved to permanent storage. Alrighty then. 205 is a pair of flood lamps used in photography. The light emitted by each lamp behaves in a manner unique to 205 and passes completely through any surface that is not colored white. Once the light contacts a white surface, it scatters and reflects as normal and loses any unnatural properties. If the light continues uninterrupted through any matter, otherwise casting no shadow, each lamp will display an unidentified young woman's shadow upon any flat white surface, such as the projection screen in Chamber 52. Whether or not the shadow corresponds to anyone living or dead has yet to be determined, although the shadow appears to reenact a specific series of events leading up to the woman's death. Even if the lamps are slightly moved, the shadow remains distinct and does not lose focus or move along with the lamp, one lamp or the other. Only one shadow was cast, although a physical person standing before the two lamps would actually cast two shadows. When supplied with steady power and maintained, the 205 pair will go through a 6-month cycle that ends on April 30th and October 31st of each year. Neither the inclusion of an extra day during a leap year, nor intermittent operation failures change these dates, thus 205's cycle appears to be tied to the standard calendar rather than a set passage of time. 205 will shut off at midnight on the final day of each cycle. Any persons entering or already inside Chamber 52 when the lamps are both turned off are violently assaulted by forces unseen in a manner consistent with the fate suffered by the Shadow Woman, regardless of any other light sources in the room. If the lamps are shut off at the end of a standard 6-month cycle, they can be remotely activated to immediately end the danger and begin a new cycle. If the lamps cease operating for any other reason, Chamber 52 will remain dangerous and must remain sealed for at least 30 days regardless of the status of 205 itself. During a dangerous phase, any equipment in the room is often ransacked, but although 205 itself has sometimes been moved, the lamps are never damaged. On 2 occasions, data expunged were carved into the walls. This strongly implies that data expunged displaying an awareness of current containment procedures. Overview of the cycle. For the first month of operation, 205 will display a still image of one woman in a provocative pose. Although variances have been noted in the pose and clothing of the woman, the individual displayed appears to be distinct and consistent through all cycles. During the last week of the first month, the shadow will begin to move slightly as if the individual is shifting her weight or becoming uncomfortable. Her hair and clothing will be observed to flutter in ways that do not correspond to any movement of the atmosphere within Chamber 52. By the end of the first calendar month, the shadow will break her pose and spend the next 8 hours moving through a series of poses that imply a photography session complete with clothing changes and short breaks, and sometimes including a meal. After the session is over, the shadow will constantly be in motion for the next 5 months, displaying a pantomime of the last days of a young model's life before she is brutally murdered at the end of the cycle. Nice. The shadow of the woman never moves beyond the boundaries of the projection screen. The shadows of objects that the woman appears to be interacting with do not appear unless they are being picked up or carried, and with the exception of the final month of the cycle, any other individuals that the shadow appears to be interacting with are not seen. Although the cycle is slightly different each time certain consistencies are observed. The individual portrayed appears to have taken up photography as a hobby in addition to being a fashion model. Her behavior implies a great deal of social interaction, although with a lack of intimacy and behavior that indicates living alone rather than with family or a partner. One implied sexual encounter with an unseen partner occurs in the 2nd or 3rd month of the cycle, and exactly 66 explicit sexual encounters occur in the final month of the cycle. During the last month of the cycle, in April and October, shadows distinct from the young woman are displayed. These shadows all have exaggerated nude male physiques and horns projecting from the cranium, although no phallus is ever observed, even during the sexual displays that take up the final days of the cycle. Only one shadow appears at first, interacting with the woman in a manner suggesting that they have met at a party or social gathering. The woman does not appear to notice the unusual nature of the other shadow and plays out a series of varying romantic interactions with it. The Horned Shadow will return to dine with the woman, engaging in silent conversations and accompany her on outings. One recurring event involves the Horned Shadow introducing the woman to at least 2 other identical horned figures. After the second week of the month, the woman will take photographs of one or more of the Horned Shadows during one of their outings, always with a non-digital camera that has been consistent through all observed viewings of the 205 cycle. After this event, explicit sexual encounters will begin between the woman and one of the figures, increasing in intensity and frequency until the end of the 3rd week. During the final week of the month, the woman appears to develop the film in her camera for the first time since photographing the Horned Shadows. Her reaction to the photographs is one of shock and horror, and her movements afterwards suggest that she attempts to flee and seek shelter behind a locked door, presumably in her home. There, she is encountered by multiple instances of the Horned Shadow figure, which assault her repeatedly for the remainder of the week. It is strongly implied that she is killed during this process, although the assaults will continue until the end of the cycle. On the last day of the cycle, one of the Horned Shadows begins to grow larger in a manner suggesting that the figure casting it is approaching the SCP-205 lamps directly. It will eventually overcast all other shadows, and at this time both lamps will be physically turned off regardless of any modifications made to prevent a halt in operation. Addendum. 205-1 has been in the Foundation possession since blank blank blank. 2 is identical in every way, including the serial number. It was discovered in a ransacked motel room in blank blank on blank blank blank. No sign of the identity or whereabouts of the occupant had been found, although a camera similar to the one displayed in the 6th month of the 205 cycle was also recovered. Most of the contained film was ruined by exposure. See attached photo for the one image that was developed from the camera. Incident 205-76B. On October 28th something, SCP-205-2's bulb burnt out. Researcher M. Blank, if it's M. Night Shyamalan, I swear to God, was sent into Chamber 52 to replace the bulb during one of the climactic assaults. Upon the opening of Chamber 52's door, all Horned Shadow figures within view ceased their activity and turned towards the door. Researcher Blank resealed the chamber and refused to enter to perform maintenance. Shadow figures did not resume their usual activity for approximately 3 hours. Incident 205-77A. On April the 28th something, 205-2's bulb exploded. Shadow figures all ceased activity and looked towards the chamber door. No staff were dispatched to replace the bulb. Chamber 52 sealed and abandoned for 30 days according to procedure. Okay, so yeah, this is exactly what I thought it was. There, you can find Chamber 52 in SCP Containment Breach. It does have these things playing out. I don't know if it depends on what day you do it, because I watched Markiplier play a few episodes of this, and he did find that room, and he was watching it happen, but he also opened the door and was brutally killed because he did not close the door, to my knowledge. All I know is, I kind of hope I don't find that, but in order to find it, I have to survive the neck-breaking sculpture. I gotta survive the thing you don't look at or it does something unspeakably horrible to you. I gotta survive some sort of giant crocodile lizard things that pretend to be normal people. And then I gotta get to a basement, and then I will find Chamber 52. So, not looking forward to it, but we'll see what happens. Because once I play this on Halloween, I'm probably never going to play it again. And I don't know how long I'm going to play it, but if my computer will let me, I do still intend on doing that. But for now, let's check out the Voyager. Okay, the Voyager's Euclid. As 206 is currently unable to be secured, an information suppression plan has been put into effect to conceal its existence. Frequencies known to be used by 206 are to be monitored, and all images relate to Earth via other probes or satellites deleted from non-Foundation assets after they have been retrieved. Technology and astronomy websites, journals, and periodicals are to be monitored for discussion of the rover or the receipt of unusual photographs. See document 206-AA12 for a complete list. Persons who become aware of the existence of 206 are to be administered amnesiacs. Update! As of November 30th, 2000-something, as orbital observation of 206 has proven possible, agents within satellite and aerial imaging organizations are directed to keep watch for instances of 206 and remove the images concerned. Deployment of image corruption cover story is suggested. Okay. So, 206 is a Martian exploratory rover, designation Invictus, launched on, I hope that's December the 8th. It's probably August the 12th, since there's no 30th month. As part of a joint Russian Space Research Institute European Space Agency effort. Exact object specifications are listed in document 206-AA1. Despite a successful launch aboard a Soyuz FG rocket, telemetry data was lost on January 16, 2000-something, roughly halfway to Mars. Attempts to re-establish communication failed, and on February 10th, the craft was declared lost. On June 8th, a day after Invictus was planned to arrive on the Martian surface, a connection was established with the ESA flight control on the rover's assigned frequency. Before terminating at the source, 38 photographs were transmitted, appearing to show views of the expected landing zone in the Victoria crater. 3 days later, a further batch of 11 images was received, showing a drastically different location, later determined to be in the Cydonia Mensae, roughly 2,500 kilometers due south. The Foundation was informed of the incidents by operatives at the ESA shortly thereafter and moved to investigate. Containment procedures were instituted on June 21st when ESA Control received a batch of 5 images showing panoramic views of the Martian surface, apparently taken from the satellite Deimos. How the rover, which as designed is rated at maximum speed 90 miles per hour on flat ground, traveled between these locations is currently unknown. 206 contacts Earth sporadically, utilizing its original channel, data redacted. Once a connection is established, it uploads a number of images in varying formats. Pictures received do not always correspond to the hardware originally installed on Invictus, though the signature and session initiation packets match those programmed. Tracking stations have received a total of blank images, which looks like it's in the 4 digits. A large number of these images, roughly 38%, appear to have been taken on Earth or worlds similar to it, differing in some detail. The remaining photographs seem to have been taken on or in the region of various celestial bodies, only a small percentage of which are currently identified. Periods between transmission vary considerably. The shortest registered to date is 26 hours, the longest 511 hours, which is a while. Despite visual confirmation of the existence of something resembling the rover, see Addendum 2061, no trace of it has been found in the received images, even when the scene includes a reflective surface. Furthermore, a number of photographs show locations exceedingly difficult, if not impossible, for a rover the size and shape of Invictus to access. Now let's check out that addendum. At the time containment procedures were instituted, it was unknown whether the transmissions originated from the probe itself or if an unknown entity had simply co-opted the frequency was impersonating the rover. However, on August 13, 2000-something, 206 transmitted a photograph of what was identified as a portion of the lunar ranging reflector. Nearby orbital assets were retasked to survey the relevant regions, revealing tracks closely resembling those a rover the size and shape of Invictus could be expected to leave. On November 30, 2000-something, Japanese lunar orbiter Selene captured the vehicle itself during a camera calibration session over the Copernicus crater. 4 hours later, 206 uploaded a new image showing a view of the same region. Since then, 206 has been captured by several satellites in various locales. See sighting log 206. Addendum 2. Though 206 generally uses data redacted, on at least 5 occasions images have been transmitted to or via civilian or military space assets. No connection between the image sets in question has been found. See Incident Log 206 for more details. Let's check out some of the images. Well, I guess we don't get to see the images. Let's see. Data loss. Let's just zoom. Continue zoom. I think I've maxed out my zoom. Okay. Mount Rushmore. Okay. Mount Rushmore again, with Jefferson Davis instead of Abraham Lincoln. One of the first photographs to depict an Earth different from the original. Moscow Kremlin. The Great Stone Bridge. The walls and towers are white, although judging by the vegetation and people caught on film, the time of the image was taken is consistent with the time it was received. Small football field. The moon, Copernicus crater. Interesting. Data expunged. 2 broken TV sets. A deceased man. Okay. Okie dokie, so. That's interesting. A lot of dead fish in an unknown place. Alright. Let's see how long Cola Bottles is, and if it's long, then I'll stop here, and we'll start with Cola Bottles. Okay. So I'll do Cola Bottles, and then after that I'll stop for now. 207 is to be stored in a waterproof locked metal container measuring 1 by 0.5 by 0.5 meters. The key is to be issued to the current head researcher of Site Blank's biocontainment area. 207 is to be retained inside this area at all times, and all personnel entering the area should be checked for any food or drink items, in addition to any other searches required. Any staff seen ingesting 2071 are to be retained for future study, with all Foundation clearance levels removed. All vending machines inside Blank are to only dispense clear carbonated beverages, and a variation from transparent is to be investigated immediately. Okay, cool, so they probably got a whole lot of Pepsi Crystal up in there. 207 refers to a crate containing 24 Coca-Cola brand cola drinks. The bottles are designated 207A to X, 207B is currently the active bottle for testing, and no other bottles are to be opened without authorization from 2 level 4 researchers. All bottles have been clearly labeled to aid identification. The liquid held inside these have been confirmed to be identical across all of 207 and should not be ingested outside of supervised testing. The liquid has been classified 2017 and is to be treated as a Class 2 chemical hazard. One does not appear to alter with age, however, the active testing bottle should have its protective cover kept on outside of removing liquid for testing. Mass spectroscopy and chemical tests have shown higher than usual concentrations of caffeine and sugars, both natural and artificial, along with redacted. The practical effect of this is when a subject drinks one, they will effectively no longer require sleep or rest, nor attempt to sleep or rest. This effect is not lessened by any soporific or medication yet tested on these test subjects. However, only a quantity of larger than 5 milliliters will cause this effect. The reason for this lower boundary existing has not been found, although it is hypothesized by Dr. Someone that redacted. As such, unless authorized by 2 level 3 researchers, only 5 milliliters of one is to be used for testing. Amounts higher than this have shown no difference in effect, with the exception of Subject 207, the subject SCP-207 was recovered from. See addendum. In addition to removing the need for rest, one also causes an increase in motor reaction and psychological functions. This increase is linear in progression, with an estimated 50% increase measured by standard medical protocols every 6 hours. The practical application of ingestion is that the subject is able to think, react, and move faster than others who have not ingested it. Mental proficiency show that the IQ of this subject rise in line with other increases. However, one does not alter the body of affected subjects. Physiology remains unchanged, and as such can rarely support the increase in activity. No subjects have lasted longer than 48 hours during testing, with the cause of death varying from massive internal organ failure due to exsanguination due to major artery massive internal organ failure to exsanguination due to major artery ruptures. Subjects also begin to show stress after roughly 24 hours, usually making each movement extremely carefully in order to avoid accidents. Tests SCP-207 Alpha and Rho have shown that after approximately 24 hours, the increases caused by one mean subjects can easily underestimate their speed. Most specifically, in test 207 Rho, the subject was able to escape the containment area despite a 5-meter wall. However, this caused the test subject's internal bone structure data expunged. Addendum. 207 was recovered from Blank College after reports of student blank moving failing grades in all areas, including physical sports, to top percentile marks and record-breaking performances in physical areas. Agent Blank, embedded in the local police force, brought Blank in for interview. Subject revealed the existence of 207 during the interview. However, escape attempt while Class A amnesiacs were being administered resulted in the subject violently data expunged. Cause of death: organ failure due to a massive internal hemorrhage. As 207A was empty on recovery, it is believed ingesting a full bottle redacted. 207 recovered from subject's home. 207A already empty. Blank reported to local police force as missing person. No further cause for surveillance of Blank College required at this time. Okay then. So, that was cola bottles. Next up, in the next episode anyway, will be Bess, and then the Sadist Tumbler, and followed by Flooded House, Paper-Covered Building, probably the Improver, but it's like I said, we'll see how far we can get in 50 minutes. So, this has been Anashi Sasuke. This is episode, I believe, 47 of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. If you liked it, a like and a subscribe would be groovy. If you didn't, you don't have to do either one of those things. So, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. Later!